In this movie, we'll begin the process of creating constraints to control crosstalk within DDR. We'll control the crosstalk by applying wire-to-wire spacing constraints by layer. We'll do this for both interbus, from one bus to other nets, and intrabus, for instance within the bits in a byte lane for reduced clearances needed for crosstalk. Our first step will be to create spacing classes, and we're going to use these in several ways. I'm going to go to the Spacing tab to open up the Spacing view, and go to any of the cells under Spacing class and right-click to open up the Spacing windows, and I'm going to go into Define Spacing. This will open up the Define Spacing screen. Now, spacing classes serve several purposes within Capture and Constraint Manager. One definition of class is as a collection of spacing constraints. When that class is applied to nets, those spacing constraints in the class collection are also applied to the nets, much like a CSET. Classes are also used to create class-to-class relational spacing objects. This defines spacing between classes. In this example, we'll use class-to-class for intrabus spacing by defining a class to itself, so that we have reduced clearance within address and control and within the bits in each byte lane. To create a new spacing class, select the Define New Spacing Class button, and the Create New Class screen appears. I'll first start by creating a DDR clock class, and I could say OK and save this and close this screen, but instead I'll hit Return, and so now I can continue creating many classes before I finally save. I'll create one for the strobes, and I'll create 8 byte lane classes, and without strobes. On the list to the right, you can see the classes that I'm creating being added to the list of net classes as I'm creating them. Let's create one more. The address control without its clock, and I'll say OK, and then cancel to close the screen, and all my classes are now listed. I'll define class-to-class objects by selecting the Define New Class-to-Class button. On this screen we have all the classes we've created on each axis, creating a grid. If I didn't want all these classes, and I only wanted some, I might select Filter Classes, and that would limit the number of classes displayed on the grid. For intrabus crosstalk, where it's each class to itself, I'll start with byte lane 7. That's byte lane 7 here, and the intersection of byte lane 7, and simply holding the Control key, highlight all the diagonals. I'll say OK, and in the Class-to-Class tab view, we'll see a list of all the class-to-class relationships defined. Selecting the Net Class tab will show us all the individual classes, and again selecting Class-to-Class will show us all the class-to-class relational objects. In the next movie, we'll create Spacing CSets by layer, and we'll assign those to the classes and to the class-to-class relational objects. We'll then assign classes to nets in the schematic, and then we'll net rev to Constraint Manager and see how all that looks for controlling crosstalk in DDR.